Hi Leo, welcome to your end of July 2020 General Tarot Update. It's Rena here, and back with my Morgan Greer deck. This is my go-to deck. Okay. So happy birthday to those of you who are born in July, the early Leos. I hope you have a great day. Oh, let me take these out of the way. Solar return. And the big news, I guess, is that we're going to have a black moon, I guess they call it. I haven't heard other astrologers talking about that, but it's the second new moon in Cancer. The first one was a solar eclipse, and this one is going to be on July 20th. So for you, this is going to be at a late degree in your 12th house. And so that really kind of like creates this sense of new beginnings in the area of spirituality and past life investigation. For it depends on what you have been involved with already. If that's something that has already been a part of your life, then or maybe launching something in that area that connects to a business that you own. And then next month you have your new moon in your sign, like a month later, and that will be very exciting for you because you'll feel really energized. So the heart of the matter is the Eight of Pentacles, and this is a card of the apprentice, the person who is maybe kind of like perfecting his or her craft. This can also be somebody who is, making a good living. This is the number 8 is number of material success, and we have Pentacles. So that can be something that you're doing in one way or the other, and just really building a career for yourself. And in some cases, this can involve like a training process. That's why I said apprentice, where you're kind of in that in-between stage where you're practicing what you've learned. But if you're just involved in whatever it is that you're doing so with great intention. So it's not so much just a hard worker, but somebody who wants to do a great job, whatever it is. And this could be your own business too, by the way. But what I look at is the past position, and that's very striking to me, the Nine of Swords. So the sense of anxiety that can come because perhaps you feel that the stakes are high. I can't help but notice that there are several pentacles in this reading. So this may be a money thing that is really taking hold within you. Actually, I've already completed your astrology reading for August, so you can check on my channel to hear about what August has in store for you, because there is a theme of money coming into play, since Virgo is your second house, and that will especially be true towards the end of August. But perhaps with other things going on that relate to career matters, for instance, Leo, you may be doing things in a very kind of an intense sort of way, trying to be so good. But the thing is like what is motivating you? Is it a sense of fear? Definitely because you have in your career sector, which is the Taurus area, you have a transit of Uranus in this house, and it's been there probably a couple of years now. And so there may have been some instability with your career situation, and this may have led you to get additional training so that you can stave off that insecurity or instability. And so perhaps the Nine of Swords is a sense of anxiety about this because you can't predict it. And you're a fixed sign, so you love this idea of everything staying the same until you decide to change it. Of course, that's not how life works. And you have to kind of be able to roll with the punches. And especially when you have Uranus in a particular house. Whatever the affairs are of that house, you have to be able to kind of be flexible, adapt, and even take advantage of these things, because some of these things can be very liberating. Uranus is it wants total freedom, and that kind of thing can feel scary when certain events are occurring, but in the long run, you look back and you say, wow, I'm glad I wasn't afraid of that because it actually worked out on my behalf. The higher message is the Queen of Pentacles, and this is the woman of the manor, or the, I was going to say Susie Homemaker, but actually it's it's a double feminine energy. It is connected to the home, but it's also connected to the pleasure of what the earth has to provide. So it's kind of like, to me, natural pleasures, but also a domestic kind of influence. So for people who have a tendency to, like Leos who work away from home and spend a lot of time away from home, there may have been situations recently that have forced you in, being at home, but it actually was a godsend because it allowed you to slow down and to tune into, like the Queen of Pentacles can be gardening or something like that, and that puts you into a whole different vibe. It can be a spiritual experience to be surrounded by plants, and even if you weren't doing something like that, but were simply cooking. And I said that almost kind of laughing, because I'm wondering if a lot of Leo people, just the classic Leo people, even know how to cook. And I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of flack for saying that. Hey, I'm a Sagittarian. We're not... the fire and the air signs are not known for our domestic skills, but I'm a cook. But I have a lot of earth in me, and if you have a lot of fire, or a lot of air, you may, tend to eat out a lot. Who knows? Because you're out and about a lot anyway. It's funny because there was such a problem for people getting yeast and flour during the early days of the shutdown, and that's because people were starting to cook again. Bake and stuff like that. And when you think about that, that's a good thing, because it's really tuning into the simple things in life instead of having everything pre-made. So maybe you have realized this, and now you're getting back into that work mode with the Eight of Pentacles, but you should keep taking the lessons that you've learned if you had spent some time at home, and take them to heart, and don't just move on and forget about that, because slowing down may have been a godsend to you and you didn't even realize it. And also, too, I mean, for women, for female Leos, the Queen of Pentacles may even be a stay-at-home mother who has a business at home. So if that is figuring into things, if you have children and you got reacquainted with your children during the lockdown, and now you're kind of in this in-between mode of going back into that fire, if you will, if you want to call the career world a type of, I was thinking of the fire in the frying pan, then the Queen of Pentacles can indicate something like that, that you learn the lessons of, you know, how it felt to be with your children more, kind of slowing down, doing things like that, and maybe incorporating that into your life. What crosses you is the Nine of Pentacles. This is a card of, when it's read in the upright position, of somebody who is financially independent. And so in the challenge position, it might be this need, feeling this need to work because of financial issues. However, what I would say is that you can't just look at the amount of money that you think you need to survive. You have to look at what you spend. You have to look at what your lifestyle is. And that was one of the other gifts that I think lockdown gave us, is the ability to really see how much the distractions that people pay good money for, you know, sporting events, and, you know, even things like theater, you know, things that you can consider culturally enriching. But how much those things, when you really, you know, think about it, you don't really need. They're not things that you really need in life. And, you know, what is the purpose of life? And having more understanding of that. With the Nine of Pentacles, the need for financial independence. Sometimes when people are getting divorced, they discover, I'm not going to be able to have this kind of lifestyle anymore. And that might not sit well with them. However, it's an important trade-off for peace of mind or for feeling dignity if you're in a relationship that is not good for you. So you can't just say that it's bad to, you know, be alone or what have you, even if you feel like you've kind of slid down, you know, a level in society, you know, in terms of that. So looking at that issue, looking at financial independence, but also you know, how you are spending your resources. With the Eight of Pentacles, to me, it's more about the job that you're doing, wanting to do something right. Leo is a sign of excellence, and also, you know, you have that pride that's associated with the lion, and that extends to the type of job that you're doing. But I was going to say, if you have some inner planets in Virgo, that can, like for instance Mars in Virgo, that can lead to perfectionism, and that can create a lot of dissatisfaction in everything that you do, because you feel like it's not good enough, and that has to be countered as well. So it has to be a balance. But certainly with those three cards that I have mentioned, where they're all pentacles, so that can play out one of two ways. Either you're just happen to be concerned about finances at this time, and also the job, you know, the status of your job. So if you have been anxious that you don't have the credentials to be able to continue, that they might let you go, then you might be training for something else. And yet the money is somehow not what you want it to be with the Nine of Pentacles. I don't know exactly how that plays into it, but it might in some way. So the thing is, though, that we have to look beyond the literal meanings of things and say, you know, is there excessive concern about this? You know, is the person so worried about money that they're like forgetting about the important aspects of life? And maybe part of the reason that they have money problems is an extravagant lifestyle that they don't need to have, that they think they need to have, but they don't. What's coming in is the Hangman, and this is a card that deals with the kind of, you know, it's a card that they call it let go and let God. It's surrender. And I keep having to say to people that it doesn't mean I give up, I surrender. It means I can't control everything, so I am going to give this to God. I'm going to let go of this need. I'm going to let go of my anxiety. Whatever that is, triggering that anxiety, I'm going to let it go, because trying to do something perfectly, trying not to make a mistake because I'm afraid I'll be on the chopping block, that's not a way to live. And this is also a card of kind of being in this state of limbo. Maybe this has something to do with finding out whether or not you're going to keep your job, and you're trying to do the best job that you know how to do, and that's all you can do. And to me, the Nine of Swords, because swords are thoughts, so it can be what if, what if, what if. And not only are a lot of times those fears unfounded, but also it doesn't really matter, because there's nothing they can really do to you. Nobody can do, even if somebody loses their job, that's not the, doesn't mean that the person's life is destroyed. It just might mean that they have to, rearrange some things maybe. And the thing is, when you live life without fear, when you live a fearless life, and yeah, of course we have our little phobias and things like that, but I'm talking about in general, where you're not just fear-based all the time, you are going, that's true freedom as far as I'm concerned. There's, Bob Dylan has a line in one of his songs where he says, when you ain't got nothing, you got nothing to lose. Now, obviously, it's not about, not having anything, but the idea is that we can't let our possessions possess us. We can't let our, anything that's happening in our life be we can't have attachment to it. That's kind of like what the Buddhists believe. Because if it goes away, then they're suffering. The more that you can be free from clinging to things, needing certain things to be constantly there, then you will feel a lot freer. And you know what? That's a lack of resistance when you feel free. When you feel contracted, when you feel constricted, that's resistance. When that feeling of anxiety, I feel like that too. I mean, I think it's human nature, but the more you can loosen that grip, and I think they kind of were depicting it with that, with the way the hands are kind of tied like that. The feeling of being, but this is about hanging loose and being able to kind of go with the flow. But there may be this kind of like waiting period for something maybe a decision that you have to hear. And the outcome is the Knight of Swords. And to me, this is you adopting a much more feistier kind of an attitude. Now, it's kind of funny to say this to a Leo, but I get this weird feeling that I'm dealing with Leos who don't feel necessarily confident right now. And I was going to say that with the anxiety, I don't know if I'm correct about this, but maybe if you're born closer to either Cancer or Virgo, you may be more of a worrywart, especially if you have inner planets in either of those signs, of Cancer or Virgo, because both of them have a tendency, I think, to worry more than Leo itself. Leo is a very positive sign. Fire signs tend to be very optimistic, sometimes overly optimistic. But, you know, and that can sometimes come back to us when we overestimated something, and then they're like, wow, you know, boy did I overshoot that one. But, you know, I think it's always kind of better than having a very fearful attitude about life, apprehensive or something like that. So in any case, Leo, the Knight of Swords can be professions involving teaching, writing, speaking. This could be a lawyer. So if you're like, you know, studying to get your law degree, I suppose that could be this. But if you're consulting with a lawyer for some reason, I'm not sure what this represents. But if it's a facet of you, it's that feeling of like, yeah, I've got this, because I always think of the knight as the warrior, and I think it is connected to fire energy. So just like Leo is a fire sign, that sense of like having guts, having courage. And the swords are our thoughts. So going from the Nine of Swords to the Knight of Swords, being more in control, I would say. But it's funny because the Knight isn't really in control fully, is more kind of like wild, but less constrained and less feeling oppressed or what have you. So okay, that's what I have for you, Leo. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you'd like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.